Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in. I, of course, am Rotype, and I'm back with MouseGunner in our Factorio tutorial series.
Hello there.
And in the last episode, we got our power system set up. As you can see here, we've got a decent amount of electric mining drills here producing coal to fuel the electric power generation. I think the next thing we want to do is start producing some more useful materials, most notably iron, because that's the one we're going to need the most coming up. Of course, everything has run out of power in the intervening, or fuel in the intervening moments.
I forget, when you walk over an item, is it shift to pick it up?
It is F.
Oh, F, that's right. Okay, I forgot. So right now what I'm doing is just walking over the coal that's on the belt, and I'm able to pick it up by doing that, by holding an F while I walk.
Yes, F, known as the pickup key, or in the common terminology, hoovering. You'll see sometimes people just running along belts of materials, just vacuuming up everything.
All right, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get another electric mining drill. And to do that, we need iron plates, which I don't know if there's any left now, but
I make it a
there's
habit
actually.
of half picking.
Oh, well, I'm not being so kind.
It's a common multiplayer, etiquette is to only take half of a stack, so you leave some for somebody else.
All right, so you're going to work on iron. I'm going to do at least one for copper so we can get that up and running.
I suppose I should talk a little bit about the toolbar. We didn't really talk about that last episode. So you'll see these, obviously this toolbar on the bottom, and these are all mapped to number keys. The 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is this first section here. And then the shift 1 through 5 is this second section. And if you're looking at mine here, you'll notice that I have a couple of these with a blue tint behind them. And to get that blue tint, I've just middle mouse clicked. You can see I'm doing it now with these furnaces in the end column here. And what that does is that reserves that space for that particular material that was there when you did the middle mouse click. So for example, I middle mouse clicked these furnaces into this space, and I can still move them wherever I want. You can see I just put them into my inventory proper. But if I got some new furnaces, they would go into that space, and nothing else can go into that space. You see, I can try and put copper there, and it complains. There's only stone furnace can go into that spot. So this is a really nice thing to organize your inventory. And this way I always have kind of a setup that is my default setup. And I know without even looking or paying attention, I can just push the 1 key for transport belt, or the 3 key will get me these electric poles that I'm now working with to bring power down to where we need it. Just a nice thing to have. I'm not sure if it's adequately documented anywhere, but it's a good thing to know.
And one thing I just had a revelation myself playing around with this game earlier is if you don't want to hit the number keys, you can just click and drag something from your toolbar as well. So if that shift 1 or whatever your toolbar setup is a little inconvenient for you, you can just come down, click, and drag it out as well. I don't know how you feel about that. Some people feel probably that key bindings are the better way to go, but
Yeah, I
I
mean,
guess
whatever's comfortable. I feel like a good user interface design requires fewer clicks to do a certain thing. That said, I guess a key push is sort of a click anyway, but whatever's most convenient.
well, see, my brain hurts sometimes with the shift number thing. I also have a habit, and you guys will probably see me doing this, of hitting the E key to try and rotate because I'm used to playing RimWorld, and the rotation keys for that are Q and E, not R, which is what it is in this game. So if you see me inexplicably open my inventory when I'm trying to place something down, that's because I'm trying to rotate something.
Yeah, there are a few keybinds that are slightly different. I've been playing this game for so long that I'm just used to them, but they're a little different. I think most notably, if you have something in your hand and you push Q, it goes away, gives you back your normal mouse pointer. That one's probably the most new to people who haven't played this game.
See, I
All
almost
right.
did it again. I was just about to hit the E key to rotate.
So at this point, I think it's probably a good time to plan out where we want to start running these raw materials. So I've opened the map view here, and you can see both Mouse and I have kind of worked on our respective materials, and we have these yellow, which is the color of transport belt in the map view. We have these yellow lines coming out, and we know that that's going to be filled with the materials. And there's kind of this accepted ideal layout of sorts for running a factory. And obviously there are many variations and you don't have to use it at all, but this general theory called the main bus theory, which is that you will basically run materials kind of, I'll draw a little example here. In this is what's called the bus, this kind of section, and you might have little spaces for poles or just splitting or anything else, but you'll have this section of material all running, in this case horizontally, down this way. And then as you need them to make other materials or whatever you need them for, you'll peel off whatever you need. So I ran out of transport belt for my example, but you can imagine if I need something off of this lane, I'll just then turn it down. And we don't have the technology for this yet, but you'll turn down a certain portion of it and leave the rest of it going down. And then this becomes a branch off of the bus. And then down here, you build all of your stuff, whatever you need to do with that material. I've kind of taken this a little bit, I suppose, a step further in my personal games. And I've done that with the raw material as well. You'll see most people do this with these copper plates that we're making here and the iron plates and several other of these kind of produced materials. I figure if it's an ideal layout, you might as well do it with the raw material too. So what I'm looking at here on the map is for a good place to run these, I say horizontal because I'm used to horizontal, but horizontal or vertical bus lanes. And of course, you also need space either above or below to build all of your, manufacturing actual part of the factory.
All right, what I'm doing right now, because he mentioned research, is I'm trying to set up some research, a little bit of research, not anything crazy, just so we can get started on that. So I'm going to do a little tiny bit of like a micro production facility over here with the resources that we have right now.
Are you making spaghetti?
Yeah, pretty much.
So contrary to what I just spent, 3 minutes talking about, not to say that it's wrong, but it's just another way of doing things. You can kind of just run belts all over the place to get what you need where, and it ends up looking like spaghetti. I'm going to take a look at the map here, and we conveniently have this big desert space. So this game has biomes, I guess is what they call them. Just kind of regions of differing terrain. And this kind of yellow orangish color is the desert biome. And deserts are kind of nice because they don't have very many trees, which you can see, they don't show up super well, but these little green kind of shaded in spots on the map are trees. And you can imagine if you're laying out a large bus type area, you got to get rid of the trees somehow because they're in the way. Or you could just lay it out into the desert. So I think what I'm going to do is probably just start running the raw materials out almost exactly at the level where we are right now, and just run them out to the east. And that will be kind of our raw materials bus area. And then we can build up from there.
And did we explain the inserters? I don't know if we did. So if I hover over this inserter, as a matter of fact, if I hit the Alt key, you can see a little bit more information about what's going on. So we can see what item is in a furnace, for example. But also if I hover over the inserter, we can see the bar is where the inserter is going to grab an item from. And then the arrow, just as we've seen before, is going to be the output. So that's where the inserter is going to put the thing. And it'll continue to do that. And the inserter doesn't really care which side of the belt it pulls something from. I think usually it pulls stuff that's closer to it, but if it doesn't have anything closer to it, then it will pull the further item as well.
It is worth mentioning, and of course I don't have an inserter on me to demonstrate this. It is worth mentioning that if you are putting onto a belt, the inserter will always put onto the far side. So if you have an inserter to demonstrate this, I have belt.
Out of curiosity, I may be getting a little bit confused here. Here's the research. So what we need is copper plate, which I already kind of am producing, and iron gear to produce red science. And that's going to be the first tool that we are going to want for our research. So there's going to be a little bit more production. Oh, okay. He's getting a little bit more complex than I was trying to go for.
Oh, I was just trying to demonstrate the inserter here. Of course, I started an explanation and didn't have the materials to complete it, but here you can see that this inserter is always placing on the far side of the belt, and as it backs up here, it's not going to put on this side. It never will. It's only ever going to put on this opposite side of the belt. That's all. Just wanted a quick demonstration.
Okay, so more or less, to make the iron gear, I'm going to have to use iron plates. So I'm going to have a couple different processes here. So copper plate's nice and simple. We just need to put it in a furnace. Iron gear is a little bit more complex. So I'm going to start off with a means to grab this iron ore. So that's just going to be this inserter here. I'm going to have to hook it up to power. So for now, this is not particularly pretty, but I'm going to put it right in there. And there we go. And then I'm going to need a furnace to turn that into an iron plate. And then I'm going to need a new production facility. But do we not have that unlocked yet?
We don't have the assembling machines unlocked.
Okay,
yet.
well, I'll do that in my pocket until we can. So that's fine. But at least I have the means to make it in a second. So go ahead and plop that sucker down. So this is going to need power. So I'm already hooking it up there. And all I need to do is then grab the copper that we're producing. And I'm just going to, as I said, I'm going to have to do this in my pocket. So I'm going to put that down. And then just make a bunch of iron gears. And then we're going to stick that in here. So first, put this in.
This is where you can really get a sense of it's better to do things in machines.
Oh, first I have to select that. Oh, you already did a little bit of production. Okay. Yeah, so I forget. Where do I put the things that I need? So when I open this up, where do I...
The science lab?
Yeah, the science lab. I'm not sure if I remember how to do this. So can you walk it through?
Yeah. So eventually this will be automated, but for now, the science lab needs, pretty much in any machine, which science lab is the only machine that we really have, but in assembling machines, once we unlock them, this top row with all of these colorful little beakers is the required ingredients. These are the things it needs. And then there's a black bar right now, this big long bar, and then an empty space on the right. And that is the output product, this empty space. Science labs are a little bit different because they can consume things individually. You don't need all of them to produce the end result. But in most machines, you need everything that's on this top row to produce this thing on the right. Science labs also don't produce anything on the right, so that will always stay blank. Now, we've put in 5 of these beakers that we've made by hand. So this is, if we have these materials similar to any of these other items that we can make, we just made these science packs. It takes a copper plate and a gear wheel. The reason this isn't actually working is because we haven't selected any science, which if you push the T key, which I just did here, you can see all of the science. And on the left, you'll see just this big, long list of science. And this isn't even everything. This is just a bunch of science options. First thing I always research, and I always suggest to research, is this very first one, automation, the one with a inserter placing onto a belt here. Once we click research, you'll see the science lab itself gets this little kind of electric, animation going on. That means it's working. And then if we open it up here, you'll see the right item here that was blank is now the picture for automation. It's not actually producing any items, but it's researching towards automation. And you can see the science packs here. There are 3 in it right now, and they are slowly being diminished as it completes the research.
All right, I think what I was getting confused with is I forgot that you make the red science in your pocket to fuel the research.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and put that in there. See, what I forgot is you were, once we get this research unlocked, we'll have the, well, is it this research or the next one where you get the factories?
It is this one.
Yeah, okay. So we'll have factories, and then from there I would build the red science and put it into the lab. But we
Right.
can't do that right now, so I'm just gonna have to do a lot of things by hand.
Right. So as
In
you
the
can
meantime.
see, building a science pack 1 takes 5 seconds. And so as you can see in the bottom left here, I just queued one up. It really does. And that's if you have all the other materials. And while you're doing that, you can't also build whatever else you want to be building. So like I'm focused on transport belt right now. So I'd rather be building that to complete my bus and have this being made automatically. So this is an excellent example of a reason to get machines to build things for you, because you'd rather be doing other things. And once we've done a bit of research, the machines are actually faster than you are. So what's just happened here is we've finished our first research, and that is why it blinged. You can see the icon changed up there. We got the flashing. This also popped up. I don't know if it did for you, but it popped up the research queue kind of window in front of your face.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at right now.
Right. So this is another mod that we have that I find super useful, because you can just, I mean, as it says, you can just queue up a whole bunch of research and then forget about it. And as I conveniently just finished talking about, if you have the production of science automated, then you really can just queue up a whole bunch of stuff and let it go and not pay attention to it at all, which I find super convenient.
Okay, so what would you recommend be the second thing that people should, well, as a matter of fact, why don't you recommend your queue?
Right. So the only not convenient thing about this mod is that it has the pictures, but it doesn't actually have, well, it has the names once you click on them, but it doesn't actually have the description. Like if you push T and look at it, you can see I can push on any of these and it'll tell me, what do I get for that research? If I were this mod maker, I would incorporate that into this mod. So a lot of times you might see me kind of pop up this window and then not actually select anything to research because I'd rather put it into the queue. But I just pushed something there for an example. But what I think the best item to research is actually logistics, which is this one here. And you can see it put it second in the queue. And I don't want that. I want that first. So conveniently I can just push up. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. There we go. So it now changed the priorities here and it's going to do logistics. The only difference is the very top thing is kind of locked in unless you change it via the actual menu, this research menu. So I'm going to go ahead and change there on the main menu to logistics, and then I'll just go ahead and populate this queue below, and you can mix and match that one as you want. So generally from there, I picked logistics as that gives us our different types of inserters and our splitters, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we get them. From here, it's kind of player choice. I'm going to go with probably automation 2, which gives us some extra tools. Electronics is very useful. From there, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Probably steel, I think, it might be a good thing to go next. But we can talk about these as we get towards them. But just a nice, useful initial queue to go with.
All right, and with that, we're getting close to the end of the video.
Yeah, I think that is a good point to break. We've kind of accomplished, maybe not automated, but a little bit of science. So thank you all very much for tuning in. We'll be back soon with another one. This is Rotype, and I'll see you next time.